According to statistics, on average, you're likely to change your job or career 12 times in your lifetime. But no one talks how hard it can be and why.
Yes! With my bills paid off, I can finally quit this lousy job.
But Homer, how are you gonna make a living?
Since 8th grade, I wanted to be an architect. That was my dream job. During my time in high school, I did everything to get into university to study architecture. And once I got into university, I studied hard to be at the top of a class. My focus for a good decade was on one thing and one thing only: architecture. You see, being an architect was not just a profession for me, it was part of my identity. And this identity was the hardest to break up with. Realizing that I want to quit was slow and painful. And I was also afraid and embarrassed to admit it first to myself and to other people. And on top of that, I had great opportunities in front of me and job offers on the table. I'm not embarrassed to admit, well, a little bit embarrassed, that once I started crying because I didn't want to go to a job interview. I know, boo-hoo, first world problems, but that was an eye-opener for me. Something was not right. And I wish I saw a video like this while I was struggling with a thought of change and not knowing how to think about it and how to go about it. And if this sounds familiar to you, regardless of your own career path, I want to share with you these 3 thought-provoking aspects which helped me, and I will also leave you with 7 kind of provoking mental exercises that completely change how I view life. First, let's address fundamentals, our education system. Did you know that much of our modern Western and Eastern education system is actually based on Prussian education system, which is actually present in Germany, where I'm currently located. Prussia was a historically prominent German state that originated in 1525. By 19th century, German states were world leaders in prestigious education. For boys, free public education was widely available, and the modern university system we know today also emerged from former Germany. So why I'm sharing this? Once I learned how, when, and why our education system was created, it completely changed my view and how we are molded to think about work in the first place. So hear me out. Just look at this. After Prussia's failings in Napoleonic Wars, the German kingdom developed this education system to indoctrinate children year by year from age 6 to 16 into full compliance with the state and its military leaders. The point was, quite simply, to make sure that no German soldier would again disobey military orders. And that's why the school was mandatory for boys and boys only. The traditional schooling for girls, though, was provided by mothers and governesses. With the Second Industrial Revolution, German states aimed to prepare workers for factories as much as boys for the military. And the school's output, quite frankly, was to produce machines which would perform tasks for the benefit of the state. And schools were created and funded by the German state anyways. Follow order, comply, learn by the books, memorize texts, don't ask too many questions, and follow rigid timetables. Sounds familiar? We are in 2022, and even though we are now on the 5th industrial revolution, nothing really changed our education system. Be a specialist, focus on one task, one profession, and one career, and get a job. But it is 1900 and actual machines replaced or will replace majority of specialized work. Just think this way, any subject that can be boiled down into something that you can teach at universities, that subject can be also taught to AI. And we know very well now who can learn faster. And this brings me to point 2, peer pressure. Our grandparents and parents were all molded this way. And the whole Western and Eastern world was molded this way to think about work and career. And it worked at the time, and it was necessary at that time. But who can be surprised that it is really scary to think a little bit differently than what we are taught in schools, not follow orders or a defined path in front of you. And peer pressure is silent, and it is us who make it loud. And reality is, brace yourself, no one really cares. What do I mean by that? Everyone is busy with their own lives. Attention is scarce, and to think that your peers are monitoring what you are up to is a little bit silly. But there is this spotlight effect where we think that whatever we do, other people are also watching and seeing. They don't. You know how you go on Facebook and it's like, oh, friends got married. Oh, they have 2 kids already. Like, when did that happen? So that's exactly the effect that other people's lives just pass by and no one really pays attention step by step. But anyhow, I hope you can see now that how we think about career is outdated by 3 industrial revolutions and no one really cares. But why is it still so hard to make a change? And career change, habit change, any change for that matter. The simple answer is our brain is the enemy in this. It doesn't like to change and it is quite lazy. Your body needs an energy to operate and brain consumes a lot of energy if you think hard. So simply your body would rather preserve this energy on keeping you alive as long as possible, just in case you stop eating. When you are doing hard mental exercises, or in other words, thinking outside of the default, it is exhausting. And probably you do also feel exhausted. And the best example is trying to change your habits. Kahneman's extensive research on the matter talks about System 1 and System 2, 2 ways of how our brains operate. System 1 is our brain on autopilot, instinctual and habitual, like driving a bike. System 2 is slow and requires effort, like doing math or problem solving. Most of the time we just resign to System 1 and it runs our lives. Most makes impulsive decisions, assumes that what we know is all facts, and it stays on what's comfortable and familiar. And this way preserves energy. Now that you know that your way of thinking is a little bit outdated, no one really cares what you do, and your brain is not here to help you, and it will be exhausting if you want to make a change. I want to leave you with these 7 mental exercises, which I hope you will find beneficial. And before we jump into that, if you like this video so far, please like and subscribe. I'm incredibly grateful for seeing this channel actually grow a little. Welcome everybody who joined, and alright, blah blah blah, let's get back into video. Okay, first, our lives is a mere blip in a universe, and most of the legacy everyone talks about actually fades in a couple of hundred of years. 2. The meaning of life is yours to define, and if you find the meaning in what you do, that's all that matters. 3. The only people who will care if you succeed are your family. Your family and loved ones are who you're going to care the most at the end of your life. 4. Make it a routine to question your surroundings and environment, and for that matter your own thinking. Are you steering the boat or are you blown by the wind? 5. Be curious about the world. Learning is not stopping with school or a job. If you are curious, you can reinvent yourself multiple times in your lifetime and be a specialist in many things, not just one. 6. If you feel trapped, remember to use System 2 and think long and hard about your current situation. Eat and exercise because you will need this energy to actually make a change in the first place. 7. People before us are already thought about all these problems we are facing on a daily life. Make friends with the history and philosophy. History tends to repeat itself and people tend to repeat the same mistakes. Stoicism, and in particular Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, was an eye-opener for me personally, and watch out for a video about Stoicism for that matter. It's amazing. Here you go, the bonus. I never ever regretted making a change. And the most recent one was starting this YouTube channel. It's completely uncharted waters for me and I need to learn so much and I'm out of my comfort zone, but it's so cool to see comments and people interacting and starting conversations. That's so fulfilling to me that I'm so happy I actually made this change and decided to jump into that. That being said, you can actually check out this video where I talk about YouTube and how monetization of YouTube works, my own journey, my own fears with that, and lessons learned. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. See you later. Bye!